Well, today marks the halfway mark. This is number 3 in series 4 in our leadership series, and we are going to talk about failure. Now, here's an example. We set ourselves up for failure every day, and we worry and stress out about failure every day. Here's my confession. I have been stressing out every week about these lives. Not because I don't know what to say, or I don't know the topic, or I feel uncomfortable talking about it. Technology. And I am not a technophobe. I was using Linux when everybody was using Windows, and I had no fear. I was willing to try things. I had no fear. But last week, on top of the fact that I switched to a new platform for all of you so that things were immediately available on YouTube, Microsoft did a Windows update, and it was a doozy. I got this message all of a sudden that said, your system is end of life, you need to update. And I thought, okay, I have a few hours and I know that I have to reboot, so I'll get this update done and then go about my business. It was 4 hours of torture. And then I didn't know if everything worked. And come to find out, some things didn't work, including drivers for the microphone. Remember I said I switched to a new microphone? Well, here's me in a complete panic that I'm going to record this whole live, or someone is going to log on, and nobody's going to hear me because my technology is not working, or the filter isn't going to work and you're going to hear the traffic noise outside of my new office. I positioned myself to fail by stressing over all of this. And the reality is, at the end of the day, if the live didn't record, I can just record it again. So, today's topic, is it okay to fail? And why is this such a hard topic? Well, here's why. Because for the history of people in leadership positions, even before we address people as leaders, we called them managers, we called them supervisors. We still have managers and supervisors who are not leading. The history of this is, if you failed, if you stepped out of line, if you didn't follow the company mantra, you would be demoted, dismissed, maligned, pick a negative word and put it in the sentence. And so as leaders, and those of us coming up through the ranks, we were conditioned, do not make a mistake, do not let them see you sweat, do not show weakness, because if you do, you will never get ahead. Now, add to that, if you were a woman in technology, like I was, and the pressure just mounts to not make any mistakes. And then there are all kinds of other things. Don't talk too loudly, don't talk in front of the men, don't do, there's so many ways that we set ourselves up for failure. Add to that, if you are a person of color, and it just keeps mounting, and we've created this environment where failure is never an option. In fact, I think that might be a line from a movie, but I'm really bad at pop culture. So if it is, and I didn't give credit, I apologize right now. That's my failure. But we have created this culture where people in leadership positions are taught it's not okay to fail. They've been taught it's not okay to be transparent. They've been taught it's not okay to admit you don't know. And those are the things that we need to change in our organizational culture. Now, tomorrow, I have a blog coming out, yes, written by yours truly, about this topic of fail fast and fail often. And we need to be really careful about that. I won't go too deeply into it because I want you to read the blog tomorrow and then come back to this video and keep the learning going. But we need to be careful with these catchphrases. You know how I feel about buzzwords. We need to be really careful about the catchphrases, because failing often, Failing fast and failing often is really not what we want to be doing. What we want to be doing is learning from failures, and we want to get faster at detecting the potential failure so that we can course correct. But we don't want to be failing often, because when we do that, that creates a destabilizing environment, and our teams don't know up from down and what they're supposed to be doing. So while I truly appreciate it, and I do teach in my group coaching programs that we need to learn to accept failure and the value that failure brings, we want to be really careful with this. We can just fail whenever we want with our arms flapping around, because then we have to refer back to my article that I wrote back in January about herding chickens while headless. So don't take those phrases and start, oh no, it's okay, we're going to fail. We're going to be an organization that fails. No, you want to be an organization that learns rapidly from failures and potential failures. You want to be an organization that can recognize very quickly when something is not bringing the value that you intended. Now, we can have a whole different conversation, and we probably have one scheduled to talk about value and when we need to course correct. But right now, let's keep talking about this subject of failure and what we do about this. So I've been trying to give you little exercises that you can do if you listen to these lives. They are all things that we do in detail in the group coaching programs, especially our Art of Mindful Leadership. So what I want you to do as an exercise when you listen to this video is bring forward your art skills. Now, some of you are going, oh, I have no art skills. I can barely draw a stick figure. I don't know. Okay, talk about failure for a minute. I used to draw and win art contests when I was in secondary school or high school. And I don't know what happened to that part of my brain, but something disconnected up here, because like you, stick figures now seem to be a challenge. I don't know what happened in those 40 plus years between middle school and now, but something did, and I just don't have those same skills to do the artwork. So if I can do this exercise, so can you. We are not grading on art, and quite frankly, you're behind your computer and nobody else is going to see this, although you may want to do it with your whole organization. So get a piece of paper, and I want you to draw what failure looks like in your organization. What does failure look like in your organization in a picture? Now, what that picture looks like is up to you. Pencil, drawing it on your iPad, whatever it looks, but I want you to draw failure. And then I want you to do some analysis. What is this picture telling you? And if you can do this exercise with your whole team or your coworkers, collaborators, and see what everyone comes up with, it is going to have that much more power when you do the analysis. Because if you are in a leadership or a managerial role, your idea of what you think failure looks like in your organization can be completely different than what your teams think failure looks like. And that can be very telling on how you're presenting and how the people above you are presenting. So do this exercise, because I think you're going to learn quite a bit about it. And when you look at it, take the time to keep asking yourself at every crossroad or different picture in your drawing, is it okay to fail? Because again, while I said we don't want to be failing and swirling and churning all the time, we do want to create a culture where we can have innovation and experimentation, or experimentation and innovation, whichever way you want to word it, chicken egg. But if we have a culture where it is not okay to fail, you cannot have that creativity and that innovation through experimentation, because no one will step forward and do something out of line. Because if they do and it goes poorly, they're afraid of the repercussions. So do the drawing, More people you get involved, the better. Do the analysis. And then every place in that discussion that you find it's not okay to fail, see what you can do about it. Now, before I get nasty comments about the fact that there are certain times we can't fail, no, we do not want to put health and safety at risk. No, we do not want to put people's lives at risk. No, we do not want to put people's careers at risk because we've made such a colossal mess. No, we do not want to put the financial security of the company at risk. But sometimes we have to do those smaller risk things that could cost something to get to the reward that we need. So we can't have the major collapse of society type mistakes. But we can have something where we try something new, we find out it doesn't bring the value that we wanted, and we correct away from it. And those are the kind of things that we need to make okay in our environment. An example that somebody told me once when they were doing an experimental backlog that I really like is that the CEO of the company told the vice presidents that they were going to be embarking in this experimentation mode. And he knew, because of the culture he was trying to undo, that people were going to be really hesitant to try and fail. Because there is that whole concept of no matter what, I've got to cover it up. I've got to make it look like it's succeeding. Even if it goes on for years and we've wasted tons of money, I can't let it look like we're failing. So what he said to the teams was, there's only one way that you are going to get chastised during this experimentation. And that is if you recognize that something isn't working and you fail to own it and you keep doing the thing that isn't working. So what he was saying was, we're going to experiment. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to have to change direction when things are not providing value. And all of that is okay as long as you call a spade, as the saying goes, and address it and put a stop to it. In other words, don't keep spending my money to do something you know that isn't working because you don't want to admit that it isn't working. And that's the kind of culture that we want to build, not one that is loosey-goosey, flailing around, and not one that's so structured that everyone's afraid to even step out of line. We want that happy medium where we experiment, we innovate, we create, and when it isn't working, we stop and we do something else. And successful teams are the ones that are able to fail together and then build back up together quickly. That's my definition of success, is how does a team fail and how do they recover over it? And if you want to read more about this, I have written several blogs, and I have one, and it talks about the bowling alley and my comparison of a bowling alley to failing and succeeding teams. So definitely check out the blog. There is a search feature, so you can search for keywords. So if you search for bowling alley, if that's the one you want to read, read the blog that's coming out tomorrow on failure, fail fast, that concept of fail fast and not being thrown into chaos. And keep following us on here because we have 3 more videos to go in this series about leadership. And then if you want to learn more about these topics, please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever platform you like. I try to keep the content a bit of variety so you don't see the same thing everywhere. Lots of tips and tricks. But if after all of that, you want to keep exploring with me, I highly recommend you check out learning.agilityforall.com and take a look at our group coaching programs. And I found out the other day that people are a bit confused by that concept. We learn, practice, share, ask, and grow in all of those programs. They are designed for individuals to sign up for them. You don't need to have a whole team. You don't even have to be in the role that you think. If that's where you want to grow, join the program. And if you want to bring your whole team or you want to do team building, then reach out to me individually through our contacts. I have a calendar on our website for you to connect directly with me so that we can talk about what we can do for your whole team. But I really hope that if these topics are interesting to you, that you join us. We have more programs coming up in April. And that is all of our time for today. It is amazing how fast 15 minutes goes. So I hope to see you back here next week where we continue our leadership topics. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.